Okay, what does a dental instrument company, a 1960 Oldsmobile, and a paper towel dispenser have to do with each other? Well, we're going to get to the key of this thing. Here's what I got to tell you. It's kind of a short but interesting story. Kid I used to hang around with, Craig Siple, he grew up, in Roberts Drive in South Weymouth. His dad had this company, Siple Dental Instrument. And just for a side note, gift item for children with these incredible balloons that they used to have. They were like the best balloons I ever seen in my life. I've never seen anything like them ever since then. We'd fill them up with water and they'd be like the size of a basketball, and they were really strong. And you could pass the things. We'd get like 5, 6 of us passing it back and forth. And sooner or later, it would take quite a while though, the balloon would finally burst and whoever caught it would get, soaked. This is when we were like 10 years old. But anyways, let's get to Mr. Siple. That's how I always knew him, as Mr. Siple, Mr. and Mrs. Siple. Craig's mom, by the way, was the head purchasing agent at the South Shore Hospital in Weymouth, Mass. She was an RN, and like all us baby boomers, our parents had been one way or another involved in World War II, and that's where we're going to get into the story. It goes back to World War II, and she was, college educated, and she worked at the South Shore Hospital, and she became the head purchasing agent. And from what Craig told me, Craig's passed away now. He passed away in 2002. He was just approaching 50, and that's another story, but he's gone. He was married. He's got 2 great sons. Anyways, he said that she was the first woman in the United States to hold a position like that in, any hospital in America. I don't know if it's true or not, but I wouldn't doubt it. She was really smart. Anyways, Mr. Siple, before he had this dental instrument company, after World War II ended, he went to work for the Scott Paper Towel Company. And this was his. And believe it or not, this is Bakelite. And I'm going to show you this thing up close, and I want you to take a good look at it. It's pretty interesting. And then I'll tell you how he wound up in the dental instrument business, because that's even more amazing. And let's see what we can do here. Okay, this thing here, like I'm saying, it's made of Bakelite. I got that there so you can open it up. That's what that key's for. This has got 3 things. This back piece is metal, but this is all Bakelite. It's got a nice mirror. Paper towels come out. And you open this part up, and you can see, you could put medicine here or whatever. I believe these would have been sold for businesses and what you call, like gas stations, places like that. Now let me show you something. Craig's dad did grow up in Pennsylvania, and Scott Paper Company, Chester, Pennsylvania. And check this out. Patent pending. That's pretty crazy, huh? Alright, let's continue down the road. Okay, so that's what this thing's all about. I'm getting ready to hang this out where I work on cars. I've had it for years and years now, and I've got paper towels. I've already checked it out. They'll work, and I'm going to use this. Now, Mr. Siple, he didn't continue working for the Scott Paper Towel Company. As I showed you, he owned his own dental instrument company, and that's the interesting part of the story to me. By the way, if I didn't already say it, he always owned Oldsmobiles, and he had a 60 Olds, but it was white. His was white. I think he always had white Oldsmobiles. Anyways, during World War II, you know, all of us kids, baby boomers, our dads were in the military, and he had a very unusual job. He was in the U.S. Army, and he was literally a guard at a POW camp someplace out west where he guarded German POWs. You know, if you've looked into the history of World War II, you've heard about, you know, we'd capture these German soldiers and they'd bring them to the United States and they'd put them out west in these camps until the war ended. He became really good friends with one of these POWs. I met the guy once. His name was Rudy, and Rudy was a guy that made dental instruments. And he talked to Craig's dad. He says, after the war, maybe we can get together and I can make dental instruments and you can sell them in the United States. And he left the Scott Towel Company and he started his own business. And Rudy would ship him instruments from Germany. If you look to the background of dental instruments, the best dental instruments in the world at that time were coming out of Germany. And I used to go with Craig. Sometimes his dad would say, Craig, you want to go with me? And I'd go with him and we'd ride around. Me and Craig would sit in the back of the Oldsmobile and ride around all over Massachusetts as he'd go and take orders and drop off stuff to the different dentists around the area. And it was a lot of fun because me and Craig got to see lots of, you know, he'd drop us off in the square of different towns. I couldn't even tell you the names of them, but, you know, we were in Weymouth and he was driving like north of Boston. I remember one time he dropped us off at Revere Beach and me and Craig ran around, you know, where they had an amusement park there at that time. They had a hell of a crazy roller coaster there. It's gone now. So we got to see a lot riding around with Mr. Siple. And, you know, what are the odds of somebody being in World War II, a guard at a POW camp, getting to know a guy, and then starting a business out of it? And he was real successful with that business. And like I says, Mrs. Siple was, you know, had a really good position at the hospital. So they were doing pretty good. And Mrs. Siple passed away, and then Mr. Siple moved to Florida, and eventually he passed away. And I just, for information, he gotten old, and of course the doctors give you medicine, and they give old people, now I'm one of these old people, but I'm not taking any medicine. They give you all kinds of medicine, and old people will take medicine and they'll forget they took it, and they start mixing it up, and that's what happened to him. He basically took too much meds, not realizing what he was doing. But Craig got down there with his wife, but it was kind of too late. They managed to get him back up to Massachusetts, but it really messed him up. So that's just a warning to people. If you got parents on a lot of meds, you got to monitor them. And if you're getting to that point, you know, you got to be really careful. Well, that's about it. And I know probably anybody that watches this doesn't even know who Mr. Siple is, but here's Happy New Year's to you, Mr. and Mrs. Siple, and, you know, people still remember you. Ain't that something? And thanks a lot for all the rides you gave me in the car, inviting me over for dinner and lunch and all that, and, you know, those were the good old days. Thanks a lot.